I'm Patrick from the executive team at the Root Brands, and we are doing a series of videos to showcase some of our top leaders and how they have gotten started, and we're going to be talking about their stories. And I am here, and it is my honor to introduce Jill Shanna from the Detox Girls. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
Good. So let's get into it. You guys are crazy top leaders, not only in the United States, but in the world. You have been in the MLM referral marketing business for quite some time. Tell us a little bit about your story, how you got into that industry, and then how you found Root.
Sure. Thank you for having us. Jill, Shanna and I are very grateful to be here. And you're right, we used to be in the MLM world, and that came because we are family health leaders, and our children and our family had health challenges. And so we were independently, before we had even met, really on a journey to better their health and lead our family into really better health than what we were getting from doctors. And we had met online, and we started to share our stories with each other. We became friends, and then we realized that we had a lot of research that we could share with each other, and we were helping each other's families at that point. And then Shanna had a great idea to start a Facebook group, which we have now grown to 12,000 people, which is really exciting. And we've had an interesting journey along the way. You want to expand on that?
Yes. So we began trying to help other people find the research that we found. So we had found some detox products that were on social media and everything and touted as the best of the best. With the little information that we had at the time, we decided that because it was the best of what was out there at the time. At this time, Root had not been a thing yet. It was in development, we found out later. So we were helping people with the health crises that their families were having along because we had used it with our family. And over time, whenever the research is not there, but the very good marketing is there, you find that some formulations that are very popular on the market are okay short-term, but long-term create issues. So that's what we were finding with inferior formulations and products that are not made by a scientist nor a formulator, but just put together because it's what is popular at the time.
Or easy to market.
Yes, very easy to market, very good capitalism financially, but not good for people's health. That we began to see a decline in people's health, and autoimmune diseases were reemerging, and they were actually coming back with a vengeance, which is what happened with our families. And so we had to be on a journey of, oh my goodness, how do we fix this? What do we do to undo what we had done in our children and in our community? So that's what set us off towards the direction that we went. So we actually originally got a hold of a bunch of different companies that had detox, and we were like, okay, what is your formulation? What does it do? And that actually led us to Clayton. And so whenever we found Clayton, we were talking to him about what Root does and what the formulations do and everything. And at the time, it had been clean slate and zero in, and they had just released Restore for the Trinity. So we were asking him and talking to him, and he was like, hold on a second. And Dr. Christina Rahm came on, and they were on their way to a wedding, and they spent an hour in the car talking with us on their way to the wedding, explaining what was going on. And Dr. Rahm just completely blew our mind. And we fell in love with both of them. And we knew that what Root had to offer was so far over and beyond anything that marketing could carry, that it's what our community and our own families needed.
Right. And then from there, it was really easy. We jumped in for our own families first, and we knew that we had to see how it worked for us. And people say that all the time. Now we say that you can't hold back other people's healing just because you have to find your own experience. But we were leading a very large Facebook group, so we had to do our due diligence. So we ordered it for our own family, and it wasn't long until they started to improve. Our girls started to improve so very quickly.
Yeah.
So we were very truthful to our Facebook group. We told them the research that we had. We told them the scientists that we found. We told them the company we found and why everything was different. And we just were very honest and forthcoming. And so our community had already built up trust with us. They understood, they switched over, and now their outcomes are, sorry, I have goosebumps from it, So we get messages every day.
Yeah.
I feel, and we're not allowed to say that we cure, treat, prevent any illness or disease, but these are messages that we receive back from our community, which is, I've cured the incurable. I'm so grateful that God has led me to your, in your path. And, I'm off of all of my medications. You've changed my life. And these are messages that mean everything to us.
Yeah. I want to backtrack a couple times because you guys brought up a couple good points. When you were in the other company, did you guys know about each other? Because you were both in the same company, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So how did you guys formally meet, or informally? Because I know you guys met online. And then the connection was made because of your daughters going through the same health journey that they were going through. It was I know that they were similar, but not the same, correct?
So Shanna had made a Facebook post and I reached out to her, little curiosity post, and it worked. So I messaged her in Messenger, and it was, with some people, they have a lot of questions and they need step one, and that's fine because that's what we're here for. But I had some questions, and Shanna was like, oh, that's a little more advanced than what most people ask. And so that's when we really started to understand that we had been on this journey for decades.
Yeah.
This wasn't day one for me, and it wasn't day one for her. And our decades of work individually made it really easy to come together. And then we just found that so many similarities. We both have our girls first and then our boys second. We both are wives and love our husbands so dearly. And we just want to help other people because we were not only helping our families, but we would give the gift of education and information to anybody we came across completely for free because it was on our heart to change humanity.
And sorry to interrupt you. When you started with this prior company, and also while you were with Root, I think for both of you, this was a side hustle.
Yes.
This wasn't your main. What were you doing before?
So I was working for a hospital system, 65 doctors in a multi-specialty practice, in a job that I didn't love. It served a purpose. It allowed me to stay home and be with my kids and raise my kids, and it was wonderful, but it wasn't filling my heart. And it was just something I did every day to raise my kids.
Yeah.
And it didn't fill my passion. So my passion was, my kids are always like, don't you want to watch TV? Don't you want to watch a movie? And like curled up in the corner watching some science or, reading some sort of research in science. And it changed my whole life. And you don't have to research like Shanna and I do. You can keep it very simple. We just thrive on the science. And when we talk to Dr. Rahm or she's presenting on Root U, it changes everything because we just, we're so enthralled in all the information and how blessed we are with all of the education and the science that we do receive. But you don't have to be a person like Shanna and I to be successful with Root, with your own family, or support your own family.
Yeah. What about you, Shanna?
So whenever I began, I was a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
And we homeschooled.
Which is a full-time job.
Yes. Especially with athletes. Oh my goodness. And what had happened, so I had been researching for a long time because of my own health. Whenever I was 25, they thought that my appendix was rupturing, so they sent me into the hospital. Long story short, went in for an exploratory surgery, woke up, and I had a full hysterectomy at 25.
Wow.
So that plunged me into menopause at 25 years old, and my intestines were partially paralyzed. So I was not able to use the bathroom without assistance of medications. So they had me on double doses of Miralax twice a day, and a liquid diet of Ensures is what the doctors put me on. And I remember one day whenever I went to pick up my kids from school, this was before we homeschooled, went to pick up my kids from school, and they called an ambulance because they thought I was going to die. My skin was green, my eyes were yellow, and I was septic. And then my appendix did rupture, and they had to do another surgery and everything. So I didn't trust the doctors anymore. I had gone through 2 years of 7 exploratory surgeries, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong. So I began to do herbs and things, and it took a very long time, 13 years, to try and do things for myself. At that time, what really pushed me over the edge is my son had a medical intervention at the doctor that he should not have had. And he had regressed whenever he was younger and almost died in the hospital from a medical intervention. And he had a medical exemption to not do it anymore. Right. And whenever that happened with my son, he was a freshman in high school. And he was playing football. It was during football season at the time, and they did the medical intervention, and he regressed. And it was like I lost my son. And he went down to being so far advanced that they could not track him in math, to hating math, getting angry, regressed, gained a lot of weight and everything. And so I was like, what am I going to do? I do not have 9 years to do this again. And so that's what led me to the detoxing spectrum.
Yeah.
Was for him. And nothing was working. And after a prolonged period of time on the formulations we had found in the other company that we were with, it began to get worse again. And I kind of went into anxiety freak out mode as a mama, thinking he just had Division I schools looking at him in 8th grade and freshman for football. And now he's angry and just wanting to play video games and regressed from society. And it was really hard. So that's whenever we, that put me on the path and everything.
Yeah.
And then whenever we met Dr. Rahm and Clayton Thomas, everything changed.
Yeah, it's interesting because not everyone is on the path searching for like a detox mechanism, especially for their children that are so young, right? You shouldn't need to have to do that, right. But there are so many that have to find that pathway that's leading them to wherever they are on their health journey. I think what's interesting is that you guys met and became super close, were working within one company prior to Root.
Yep.
And then took the leap of faith together and started a business together called the Detox Girls, and now have grown that to such a conglomerate of just healing and helping individuals on their health journey. I think that's something to really recognize, because people are looking at the outside in going, oh, you got in at the ground floor. Of course, it's super easy. You guys just met for the first time in person last year.
Yes.
And have been in business for what, 3.5 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that in itself is insane. And so you guys were running and are currently still running a Facebook group. You do kind of sharing how many are in that Facebook group?
Yeah, we're almost up to 12,000. When we started with Root, we were at, what did we decide? 2,800 when we started with Root. And so I think it's not just us. It is our community. Mm-hmm. It's our community that's speaking out about their outcomes and how amazing they're doing. So those that we're getting the messages from are also speaking out, and they are on social media and they're telling their friends and their family and their doctors. And we have people that'll say, well, I went to the doctor and he said, well, I can't tell you what to take or what not to take, but it's really working for you. So just keep doing that. And so doctors are starting to catch on a little bit too, that people are starting to be better. And even though they don't understand the mechanism of how the outcomes are undeniable.
Yeah.
And we have a couple of outcomes that are undeniable in our life.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting is also the support structure and the system that you have. It's not just Jill and Shanna that are giving the support. It's the entire community. Everyone is there. And I've met a bunch of members from your community, and they're the sweetest, the kindest, most loving individuals. And I think that's the attraction, mm-hmm. is that support structure, that when you go somewhere and you feel like the health system has failed you, you feel like the doctor that was supposed to be that support structure has not given you the support or the love or the direction you feel that you and your family needed to go in, that's where you guys step in. And I think that's what's been a beautiful thing to watch you guys grow, that for what I've known you for the last almost 2 years now. And so I think that's the part that I really want to focus on, is you guys aren't tech savvy, right? When you guys started, you weren't. You are now.
Well,
you are now.
No, that you are support, yes.
But
yes.
You guys, what I want everyone to know is that it's almost as easy as starting a Facebook group and talking about like hot buttons for individuals. And obviously during the time of COVID, people were asking a lot of questions. You know, health and wellness really became to the limelight, and you guys have created such a phenomenal group of people being comfortable to ask questions. And I think it's as simple as that.
It really is, just being genuine. Mm-hmm. And our community is very genuine. We have a lot of community members that are starting their own Facebook groups because they have a different niche than we have.
Right.
And that's amazing. I want them to speak from their experience and be able to support their community in that same way, to a way that we can't. We have people that have started their own group that if I went into that group, I would not be able to support the way they're able to support, because that's their journey.
Yeah.
And they're giving.
What are some of the hot topics that you think that are in your group or that you've seen. And then I also want you to speak to somebody that might be thinking about coming or utilizing the Root products. Think back to when you started and what you would say to them now.
Good call. I would say the digestive system is a very big one. Parasites, fungus, and mold are also hot buttons in our community.
Yeah.
Those are probably the biggest ones at the moment.
Yes.
And they actually all have to do with each other. So the digestive system has a direct impact because of the immune system, and then parasites, bacteria, fungus, mold, and yeast all come from a digestive system and an immune system that isn't working. So it all correlates together anyway. That's the brilliance of Dr. Rahm. She didn't create one product to do one thing. She created a line of products that no matter what, somebody just asked us recently, what is your favorite? It's really hard. Our favorite product is, what day is it? And what is going on in our life?
Right. And what are you experiencing?
Need nutrition. How is your immune system? Do you have allergies today? Do you just not feel well? Or do you need some energy, a pep in your step? So it really just depends on the day, which would be our answer to what is your favorite. But it's not just one product, and it's not the next shiny thing. This is true science from a scientific formulator who offers something that is multifaceted and encompasses the entire body, because she understands that the body is one, and you can't even just target just the digestive system. You really need to target the entire body and support and protect. And she teaches that every week.
Yeah.
I would say if somebody comes to you with information and they claim that it's a cure-all, right, or an isolate, run and ask for the education.
Right.
Ask for the formulator, not a scientific board member, but an actual formulator who formulated it and all of that, to find out what is the actual underlying mechanism and how it works, because your body is the miracle. Right. So nobody can claim that there is one thing that cures everything. Right. You know, your body is the miracle. It was created to regenerate. So you have to remove the bad. You have to rip it apart. You have to eradicate it from the body at the same time as regeneration. You have to regenerate the cells and give your particular cellular structure, your genetic code, what your diet has been in the past. You have to give it what it needs to correct itself and to regenerate from the cells out. So that is what the formulations do, and that's what you need to be looking for, are those things.
I think one of the things to bring to light right now is that we've had, in this last 3 years, a lot of products that are here to kill off, and people did well at first, and then what happened was they sort of had a rebound. So they were killing off the parasites, the mold, the fungus, the yeast, but they weren't eradicating that from the body. And so now that die-off is in the body. And it's important to know that if you're doing either one, or some people are doing multiple forms of detox, that detox is just killing things off. It's not eradicating it from the body. And that is such an important step, because detox done wrong can create an autoimmune. That happens to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good point, is recognizing that the body was created to heal itself. And if you fuel it in a manner that's going to help amplify that and help also sustain the body, that's what's the most important aspect, right? And I also like to say the gut's the first brain, not the second. And that's a lot where the problems start, is within the gut.
Yes.
So what's your favorite product? I'll start with Jill.
Oh, my favorite product, my everyday can't miss product, is Give Me Back My Youth. However, I'm not allowed to say that anymore because it has to be paired with Rahm roast. Because now that is my favorite combination. Every single day is Give Me Back My Youth. I love them all. Yesterday we had a really busy day, and we woke up in the morning and I looked at Shanna and I reached to my purse and I threw over a Zero In, and we were both taking Zero In, because I don't know how you guys keep up your pace. You know, yes. If you know anything about these wonderful people from Root, the pace they keep up is undeniable, and Zero In works. So that's Give Me Back My Youth would be my top. Yeah.
For me, doing personal, I'm not being a mom and saying what I've seen in my kids. For me personally, it would be Relive Greens. Relive Greens has been phenomenal. I like to say that it was like a light turned on inside my cells, and I fed myself nutrition that I had never had before, because your cells remember, and it's passed down from generation to generation. And because of the degradation of our food and the lack of minerals in our food, our body doesn't even know how to regenerate because it hasn't had the building blocks and the ability to do it. So I believe that Relive Greens gives the building blocks from the coding that our cells actually need to actually be able to begin to regenerate and restructure itself, so that you're going to begin to have DNA synthesis of healthy cells.
Yeah. And I find it interesting that both of you chose products that aren't like the hero product, like Clean Slate or Zero In.
The world needs Clean Slate.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. In the world needs to be on Clean Slate.
But I think it speaks volumes, though, about the products that we've launched after the Trinity, which was really our foundational hero product on top, stacked on top of Clean Slate, is because they're so good.
Yes.
I think 3 years in, I take Clean Slate for granted. I never go without it. It sits next to my toothbrush. I use it every morning and every evening, and I'll never go without it. So maybe we take that for granted, just like brushing our teeth for granted, taking a shower, getting a glass of water. I think I take Clean Slate for granted, but it doesn't speak to it any less.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wake up in the morning and I have to give me caffeine.
I think the other exciting thing about both of you, that it seems like you guys do everything together, is you've both retired both your husbands, and you've allowed your husbands to do what they love, spend more time with their family. Why don't you talk about that a little bit? Shanna, you can go first. Talk about your hubby.
So my husband was away a lot. He was a contractor in the oil field, and there were some years he'd be gone for 300 days a year.
Oof.
And so that was really difficult on me and the kids. We have 2 kids together. And he had never been able to spend time at home.
Yeah.
And whenever the whole fiasco of everything that's gone on the last few years, they shut everything down, and he came home and he was looking about having to go back. And it was at that time that we were leaving the company before and starting over with Root. And the same day that we had to make the decision on everything, he got a call to go back. And I told him, I said, I don't want you to go back. I want you to be here. Our son was going into his senior year of high school, and he needed his daddy. And I said, I can do this. I really can. And so I did. And obedience is better than sacrifice, right? So the Lord blessed us to where I replaced that income within 2 weeks. And then within a month, he wasn't able to have to worry about it. And so now he's an entrepreneur doing what he absolutely loved to do. And he has started his own business.
That's incredible. And then you were able to do some phenomenal things as well.
Yes. So I was able to walk away from my full-time job that was not filling my heart. My kids are older now, and my daughter had moved out of state, and my son was out of high school and independent. So I really started looking at my daytime job on how I felt about it. And it just became very clear, especially in this last 3 years because I worked in the medical field. So there was a lot of controversy there. And then they were trying to make me do things that I didn't want to do, including getting a medical procedure that I didn't want, as well as putting out a religious exemption, which I was fine with, except that I'm not open to anybody judging my religious exemption or my decision. So I wasn't willing to do that. And they were baffled by that. I was apparently the only one at EPMC that felt that way. So
I remember talking to you then. It was a tough time.
It was a very hard time because
there were a lot of tears.
Well, and I was afraid to leave my daytime job. That was my security blanket. It was hard to make that jump. So what was nice was in that same time frame, my husband was up for early retirement. Had not planned on retiring for another 4 years. He liked his job. It was fine. He was a welder. Did not realize until all of this how exposed to toxins he was. But they were taking on, so he had to work through the whole pandemic. He was considered an employee that was allowed to come in, so he was working there himself because they were building hospitals. He was building the hospital system that I worked for. And so in addition to them telling me what I needed to do, they were telling him that being in the shop and being a welder, that he had to do it too, even though he wasn't going to be there. And I looked at him and I said, what day can you early retire? And he said, December 1st. I said, put in for it, do it now. And he said, well, I know what I'm going to be getting in pension. I'm just not sure. And I opened up Root and I talked to him and I said, it's going well. It's moved up. I promise you that I will continue to work hard like this too. We will be okay. And so he retired December 1st. And I started seeing, I was already making more than what I was making at my old job. After 27 years, I was already making more after 6 months with Root. And I don't really like to talk about money. That makes me uncomfortable, but it is important to know. And then fast forward to February, I was on the phone and with somebody from work, and they made a comment about my situation. They had also threatened to fire me 4 times because I wouldn't do what they wanted me to do. And I called Shanna and I said, guess what I just talked to Dennis about? And she said, what? And I said, I came out and I said, I have to quit. And he said, do it. And I picked up my phone and I quit. And my next call was to Shanna. And I was like, finally. Yes. I quit. And then that was February. And then the March I came out to meet her, and we haven't turned back since. It's been amazing. So my husband is loving it. He is hunting. He is fishing. He's spending time with friends. All of his friends ran out and got a fishing license as soon as they found out that he had a boat. And they're like, we want to go. We want to go. So he's been off fishing. It's been great. We might have to buy a lake. We have a lake house, but we're going to have to buy a lake for himself. It's
Well, that's incredible. Well, I appreciate you sharing your story. It's been phenomenal to hear. I've known it firsthand, but there's a lot of good aspects of it. And I think it's good for others to hear the journey that you've been on, because it's such an eye-opening experience to look at how things can evolve and change, but also when you focus on helping, you focus on allowing to hold and walk others through the door that are confused or have questions or don't know where to turn, because there's been times I can look back in my life where I'm like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I don't know. And you just look to anyone who has answers and you hope to God that they're the right answers. And I think you guys have created such an incredible platform to help invite people in, but also give them those answers. And so I know that it's phenomenal watching you guys grow. You guys have grown so much, personally, professionally, spiritually in the last few years, that it's been phenomenal. And I look forward to seeing the growth in the next couple of years. So thanks for taking the time to join us today. I appreciate you sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me, Patrick.
Of course.